Hi, Patrice. This is Cosmic Layla from the CLCI Webzine.
How you doing, Cosmic Layla?
Pretty good, pretty good. So as the old expression goes, how hangs the hammer?
It's dangling
Okay.
right above my head.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. We're going to ask some probably samey sounding questions and then get into some things that you haven't been asked about before, okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's begin at the beginning.
Okay.
Do you prefer to be called by the name Patrice or Candy?
Either one's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. How did you get that nickname Candy, by the way?
When I was a baby, I was told this. My brother Carl, who was 4 years older than me, everybody was fascinated because there's 3 boys and then a little girl came along,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "She's so sweet, let's call her Candy."
Oh, I see. So that happened when you were just a little baby and they told you about it later?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting story. Did you eat a lot of sweets when you were a kid, like later on? Or?
Oh, hell yeah. That's why I'm diabetic now.
Oh, my goodness. That's...
They passed on down the genes.
Right,
So go
right.
ahead.
Well, at least you got a good attitude about it, right?
Well, I shoot, I pill, I
Yeah,
eat,
right.
whatever.
Got to watch your health on that.
Yep.
What are some of your first memories as a little girl?
I remember my dad, especially when he'd go shopping for groceries and he'd take me with him. When you get to the checkout line, there's all the little candies and everything. And in those days, I say those days because it was like 60, 70 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They had little candies for like a penny or 2 cents or 3, whatever, and they were like, wrapped but open in open boxes. So you could just pick out what you wanted. So my dad would take some change in his hand and hold his hand out to me and said, "Here, take what you need and buy some whatever you want." And those were good days, going with my dad because I was the baby and I was a girl, so it was like I was, very well taken care of.
Got the treats, right?
Mhm. Mhm. And then with my mom and my brothers, it was good. They all wanted when they were all out, playing touch football and what have you. When we lived in Lancaster, and of course, me being the little tomboy that I was, I wanted to play too.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go out there with them, and I remember my dad standing on the porch, shaking his finger at my brothers, going, "You better take care of her." In other words, don't let nothing bad happen.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good growing up. I had a good childhood.
All right. Can you tell us your best memories of the Zappa brothers, Frank, Carl, and Bob?
Let's see, just before Frank, well, he'd already moved out of the house and he was living in the studio, the Studio Z
Mm-hmm.
on Archibald in Cucamonga. And one day he came. Well, there's 2 memories of that. We lived in Montclair, California, so he drove over I was home from school one day, sick with a cold,
Oh.
and he came over. My mom was at work, my dad was at work, Carl was in school, and he says, "What are you doing home?" I said, I'm homesick. I don't feel good." So he says, "Well, come on, get dressed. I'll take you over to the studio. I want to show you my studio." I said, "Oh, well, let me call Mom first to make sure it's okay." So when I called Mom, I said, "Frank wants to take me to the studio. Is it okay if I go?" And she goes, "Oh, Candy, you better not. You know how your dad gets." Well, whenever one of us would get sick, he'd blame my mom.
Okay.
So I hung up the phone and I turned to Frank and I said, "Mom doesn't want me to go." And he gave me this look with his frowned eyebrows and he very stern voice. He says, "You're going." Okay. Well, so I put some clothes on and we got in the mustard colored Chevy station wagon, Impala station wagon he had, and we drove to Cucamonga and he showed me the studio and all of his neat things. He was like a kid showing me, all his creations, and that was where he painted a lot of the sets from the movie he was going to do called Captain Beefheart versus the Grunt People.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I heard about that one.
Okay, so he showed me all the sets, and we just talked about stuff, my dad was very strict, so I wasn't allowed. I was 15, but I wasn't allowed to date yet,
Oh,
or go
I
out with kids. Okay, so he didn't like that at all.
Right.
Frank was very progressive, thinking he would have chauffeured me somewhere, if I was going out with somebody. Anyway, so then we got home. He took me home, and of course, I got sick that night. I got sicker. I had a fever, and my dad came in. Yeah, my dad came in to see how I was doing. I said, "Oh, I'm doing fine, Dad. I just lied through my teeth." And so I was okay. And then another time, he came by to pick me up and take me out for a burger and a malt.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So
again,
like
a party.
He was like, yeah. And then again, it was like, what are you doing? You have any boyfriends or anything? I said, well, yeah, I'm not allowed to do that. And he was just like, why? He was just incredulous at that thought, So
okay,
those are two of my favorite. Another one when his first wife Kay and her parents came over to the house in Montclair. And Frank and me and Carl were in the kitchen, and Frank was just looking for something to cause mischief. He was just a little imp.
Right.
And he opens the freezer, and there's a bowl of fava beans. Well, if you've ever seen fava beans, they look like it looked like a bowl of brown turds. Okay, so he sees that, and he gets this impish gleam in his eye, and he hands me the bowl and says, "Go take these out there and offer them to Kay's parents." I said, "No." Come on, Candy. I'll do anything for you. I'll get you in the movies. Just take this out. All right. So I walk out there, and my parents are like, having a seizure, looking at each other, going, "What the hell is she doing with those beans?" So I walked up there, just as politely as you may. "Hi, would you like one of these?" And her parents looked at each other like, "Eh." And they said, "Well, no, thank you, dear." It's like I'm trying to cut back, but, no. So I go back in the kitchen, and there's Frank on the floor, holding his stomach, rolling back and forth, laughing at this whole thing. I was so pissed.
Oh, my goodness.
I was pissed.
What a prank, man. What a prank. I know. But kind of a cruel prank, but right.
Yeah. He was a character. Growing up with Frank was like Christmas, every day.
Christmas and Halloween, like every day, right?
Yeah. Well, Halloween was his favorite holiday. So, as far as my other brothers, Bob, I didn't have... ours was kind of a strained relationship, He helped, when I came along, he would help Mom with, taking care of me and stuff. I don't know if he resented that or anything. I don't know. He's not here. He passed away in 2018.
Oh, I know.
But, we kind of had a strained relationship. But, I loved him. I thought he was a great guy and very smart and very handsome. That's Frank was. And then Carl, he was my playmate because he was, closer to my age. We played together all the time, Of course, me being the younger sister, I had to run the show, so we played what I want to play. Let's play house. Let's play doctor. Let's play going to school. Let's play being in school. We didn't want to go to school, but playing it was fun.
Right, exactly. Playing pretend is a very good imaginative game that, a lot of kids don't play anymore.
Right.
They're too much into glow devices, which I call the iPhones, or like they walk around like glow zombies, because they're so busy looking at that.
There's no interaction now. We played together. When you're in school, even if, you got bullied or something, at least it was some kind of communication,
Right now it's like, somebody hit the down sign on my post, and that's bullying. Were you ever into sports in high school?
I liked softball, and I didn't play it in school, but I loved tennis.
Oh.
And volleyball was my other favorite one. Of course, those were the days when I didn't have aches and pains and,
of course,
weighed a lot less than I do now.
Mm-hmm. Were you a cheerleader or a sports fan?
Oh, no.
No. Okay, I just have a football question. Cheerleaders use pom-poms. So my question is, do you call one pom-pom a pom and the two of them pom-poms?
I'm not sure I understand that.
Why aren't the two of them called pom-pom-pom-poms? As if it's one.
I see. Okay. Yeah, they're leaving out the very important pom-pom-pom-pom. Okay, yeah, it would be a pom-pom. Yeah, one of them's a pom. Hey, have you got your palm with you? Can we light one up right now? I need to get high. Roll it up real tight, you see. Roll it up real tight. And then light the end of it. And then take a big hit. See? That's what you do.
Okay, that's a good one. You're cracking me up good. What are some of your favorite Frank Zappa songs and why?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. A couple of them. One is "Let Me Take You to the Beach."
Oh.
And "Baby Take Your Teeth Out." Those are two of my favorites.
Oh, cool. Yeah, those are good songs.
I liked his early stuff the best.
Mm-hmm.
Off the Freak Out album. A little story about that, a little side story. Right after the album came out, and I don't know if you remember the cover, but he's wearing that big fur coat, that raccoon coat or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
He came over to the house wearing that same coat with his long hair flying in the wind, and he comes in, and my mom and me were in the back bedroom, and I think Carl was there too, and she was changing the sheets on the bed, doing mom stuff. And Frank came in and he said, "I brought the album," He was so excited. And we had this little dinky record player, So he puts it on, and, we've been used to hearing the Beatles and the Beach Boys and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes "Who Are the Brain Police?" And the part where it all goes, "I think I'm going to die. I think I'm going to die." So I look at Mom, she looks at me, and we're like, okay. and Frank goes, "Isn't this great?" I said, "Yeah, Frank, it's bitchin', And as a matter of fact, Status Fact Baby off the, I think it was the Absolutely Free album, I was supposed to sing that. But circumstances beyond my control, or his control, it didn't happen, so. But, yeah, I like the early stuff, because...
How about Reuben and the Jets and stuff like that?
Well, I didn't listen to that as much as I did, like Absolutely Free.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call it? We're Only in It for the Money.
Yeah.
And of course, Freak Out, and then Lumpy Gravy was one of my absolute favorites because that's when I really heard the orchestration of his music that was just so beautiful. He was amazing. He was an amazing composer.
Yes.
And his lyrics, the people, they wanted to ban his lyrics. It's like, hey, people, guess what? He's writing about you. He's writing about your shit and what you do. And it's like a musical book report, like I said in the beginning of my book. And he holds it up to us so we can take a look at what we've done.
Yes.
So that was it. That's how I categorize it, It was a musical book report.
Yeah, and, nobody seems to be doing that sort of thing these days now. It's like, who dares to hold up the mirror to the public and show the public what they really are, right?
Yeah. We shouldn't talk about politics right now.
Oh, was that political? That was just a general thing?
Well, Frank was very heavily involved with politics and society. And, if you listen to stuff, there's a lot of stuff about politics in there. And he and I agreed.
All right, guitar stuff. When was the first time you heard a fuzz tone guitar?
Heard of what? Flood tone?
No, fuzz. Like
Oh,
fuzz
tone.
tone.
Gosh, must have been in the '60s, but I don't remember. That's an odd question. I have no idea how to answer that.
Yeah.
It was in the '60s, I'm sure.
What was your impression? Do you remember, like how it affected you?
Interesting. I thought it was interesting, and if more into it, if it played more, and if it was pertinent to the song or whatever, yeah, it was good. Of course, back in the '60s, everything was starting to be experimental, and it's like it's like Desi Arnaz with the 3-camera angle. I mean, nobody created that but him, and Frank took steps to create stuff that had never been heard before or used before.
I know, right? Like the bicycle spokes and turning anything to an instrument.
By the way, those bicycles were mine and my brother Carl's.
Oh, wow, cool. I didn't know that. Frank described his guitar style as having elements of Johnny Guitar Watson and Clarence Gatemouth Brown, and he seemed to have Indian and Arabic scales in his guitar solos. How would you describe your style of guitar playing?
Well, I don't play guitar anymore. My hands don't cooperate. So.
Well, before,
Mine was just like blues. I played a lot of blues, and when I wrote songs, I would use. I'm not as intricately versed in musical notes or connotations as Frank was, but like I had a good strum. Somebody watched me play guitar one time, and they said my hand was like an animal. It was just eating the guitar up. So I don't know what that means. I was when I was like 16 when, everything worked.
Right. Do you remember the rock guitarist pioneer from the 30s, Rosetta Tharpe?
Yes. She was something else. There was an amazing lady. She got out there and she'd tear everybody up.
Oh, yes.
That was it. Oh, yay.
Yeah.
I never played like her.
A lot of other people probably couldn't touch it. That's true. But she played a white Gibson SG guitar, and Frank played a red Gibson SG back in the 70s. You think that's ironic or just a coincidence?
There's no accidents in the universe. Everything's set out for a reason.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd say that was a cosmic debris.
There we go. Okay, that's the secret magic word for tonight.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, you're a very good interviewer. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, some questions about the music industry. This is the fun part.
Oh.
Do you share the same point of view Frank had about the music business and modern rock groups?
According to Frank, the music industry had nothing to do with music. That was what he said.
Right. And what are the chances for musical artists these days to get a record deal, and would it be a good deal?
I would say that, it's not like it used to be where they'd throw money at you and then tell you to go home and write, several songs and then come back and record them. I think it's a different deal now. I mean, it's like, with the rappers and stuff, I mean, they make, ridiculous amounts of money for what they put out, and that doesn't make sense. I mean, there's so many other talented people who play an instrument, who have, good voices and can sing, yet they're pushed to the back. It seems like they're not given the opportunities that some people get. There's a line in Tinseltown Rebellion where Frank says, the record company producers come to see and not to hear, and, whatever you do, you're not sincere. And it's like, that's what they want. They want the what can you do on stage that's more,
Flashy.
better than anybody else. Yeah, I mean fireworks, people getting killed by pyrotechnics. You know, yeah, and it's not like it used to be. You know, you hear about you see the movies like with the Temptations, how they started out. Oh my God, you know, they had to go into a little room and record a song and then take it in front of. They wanted to get into Berry Gordy's Motown, and you know, then have the record judged. And he says, would you, if you had $1 left, would you spend it on this record or a sandwich? And a lot of people said a sandwich because that song wasn't that good. So they had to go through hell to get somebody wrote a song, they'd sing it, and it sounded good, and bang, you have a #1 seller. Not today. I don't think that's going on today, but I could be wrong. Well, I'm not tuned in.
Well, I am an observer of the business, and from what I'm observing, I think that what you just said is absolutely spot on, unfortunately. Because it would be better if the people were not so fucked, you know, if they would just latch onto something that was good instead of embracing all that is putrid and terrible. Because that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And T-shirts, man. You live on as a T-shirt. That's what you're going to be. All the great bands, if you're lucky, you'll be on someone's T-shirt. But me personally, I've been listening to Frank Zappa all my life, like since I was very young. Zappa and Devo were among the first sound molecules to reach my ears, and I instantly took to the music and been loving it ever since.
Okay, good.
Do you think Devo qualifies as what Frank would describe as a quote-unquote plastic group?
Well, aren't they the ones that did Whip It?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Well, that's the only song I've ever heard them do. I don't know how much of how much I qualify to answer that question. I don't know if he even liked them. I don't know. You know, Frank he was balls up against the wall. I mean, you ask him if you don't want the truth, don't ask him a question.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Did you ever see the episode of The Monkees with Frank in the show where Frank was portraying Mike Nesmith and Mike was portraying Frank?
I think I did back in '67 or '68, whenever it was. Yeah.
How did he end up on the Monkees show? Do you know?
They probably called him up and asked him. He thought it was fun. It's like the movie 200 Motels. I called Frank up and I said, how the hell did you get Theodore Bickel to be in your movie? He said, I called him up and asked him. So at a show that our temple gave to honor Lieber and Stollers, who are the two biggest hit makers in the world, he was at the show, Theodore Bickel. And I stood behind him. He was I'm 5'1" or 2 or something like that. This guy just towered. He was huge. And I tapped him on the shoulder. Of course, I had to stand on my husband's shoulders to do that. But I tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around, and I said, Mr. Bickel, I believe you were in my brother's movie. Yes, Frank Zappa, a very persuasive man, but nice. So, yeah, I think you just find out how, Frank wasn't an asshole. I mean, not really. I mean, maybe to other people he worked with, but
on the bad days, right? Like a human, he was only human. Come on now,
Right.
Right. We all have
I think that's what they did.
Do you agree with Frank's view about the media across the board, that everything is owned and controlled by bad rich people, such as those who own TV and radio stations, record companies, and news outlets?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Do you think the music industry was destroyed or stumpified by the infamous imaginary disease called the carumba?
Oh, it did. It did. It took a lot of money out of people's pockets who depended on it. And there's a 3-day music festival in Bad Dober in Germany every year. You know about that. Mm-hmm. Called the Zappanale, which I've been to 3 times. And it didn't go on 20 and 21. Now they're doing it this year. they're finally catching back up. And Wolfhard Putz, who puts it on, wonderful guy, and his wife, Tracy. I know they probably lost a lot of money by not having it go on for 2 years. I mean, this whole thing was it was unfair, unkind, and unnecessary.
Yeah, it just smacked of manipulation of some sort from somewhere, because it just seemed to be in somebody's, advantage to put a stop to the music industry as we know it, because even if they go back and put those live shows back on, you still have all these rules, very TSA orientated rules they have to follow, and it takes all the fun out of going out and seeing a show, man, you know what I mean?
Well, my husband was supposed to go, I think he was supposed to go to England in 2020. My husband, Nolan Porter.
Yes.
And he passed away last year, yeah. He was supposed to go there, I think, in 2020, and that got shut down. So, yeah, it ruined a lot of people's livelihood, and that's the unfair part of it, because it was unnecessary. It didn't have to happen.
Right. Did Frank always use funny pronunciations of words like patterns, modern, and appropriate? Or was that something he developed later?
I think that must be a family trait, because I do the same thing.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't remember him doing it. Oh, he probably did when I was younger. I probably overheard a word or two. But that was something he developed. And
oh, I see. What words do you pronounce differently?
Off
the top of your head.
I take medication for my diabetes, so I call my pills my Pilly Willies.
Okay.
Yeah. And my insulin is called insuline.
Oh, there we go. Now that's very Zappa.
I don't know. Just the stuff that would come into my head. My daughter said to me the other day, you always do that. You take a word and you just, abolish it. I say, hey, that's the way I am. What can I say?
To me, it's wordplay. It's fun just to make up a different word even, or make a different pronunciation of the word, just to make it more interesting. Like take an ordinary word like garbage and say garbage, like that kind of stuff.
Or grabbage.
Yeah, grabbage.
Switch the letters. Grabbage. I got to take this out of the grabbage can.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Did Frank's controversial lyrics, in your opinion, hold him back from being promoted in the mainstream media?
I'm sure that his thought was, I'm going to do what I want, and whatever happens. If it's like the line in his song "Trouble Every Day." Hey people, I'm not black, but there's a whole lot of times I wish I could say I'm not white. That little line got him booted off the Ed Sullivan show, because he was supposed to go on. And one of Ed's cronies heard the song and heard that line, and they went, oh, no, we can't have that. It's like when they filmed Elvis from the waist up.
Yeah, and the same thing happened with The Doors and Jim Morrison.
Right.
Now some drug questions. You've heard of Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters? They were a traveling acid group from the West. Timothy Leary was on the East, and they were on the West. They used to travel around in a garishly painted bus and play pranks on people. And also, Ken Kesey was a writer. He wrote The Demon Box.
Oh, Ken Kesey, yes.
Have you ever taken LSD?
No, thank God.
Right. I hear it doesn't take to women very well, right? A lot of women did not take to it. At least that's what I observed, because
I didn't do any drugs except smoke a little pot. That was about it. And I stopped doing that like 30-some years ago, because, it wasn't making me well or anything. It was messing me up. So better to give that up. So I don't. That's like Frank. He smoked a marijuana cigarette once, and it gave him a sore throat and put him to sleep. And that's what he said. So other he would fire some musicians if they were, like the one guy, Elliot, the original in the original Mothers. He came on stage one time and he was so high, he didn't know where to plug his guitar in. So he told him, hey, it's been nice, but it ain't been real nice, so take a hike.
Is it possible that Frank was unknowingly dosed, perhaps in his coffee, with LSD by one of the members of the Mothers at some point?
No, I'm sure he took care of that himself.
No.
I'm sure he took care of his own coffee himself. Of course, the kind of coffee he drank, you could stand a fork up in it, it would stand up straight. Because it was espresso, and it was very strong coffee, and that's what kept him going.
Did he take any milk or cream with it, or just like straight,
nope.
Man, just straight?
Black. Straight black.
I used to be an espresso. I used to be an espresso drinker, so I know how nasty that coffee is.
Well, have you had the lining of your stomach checked lately? I mean, there's got to be holes in it or something.
Well, I would put ice cream in, and I would put ice. I wouldn't drink it straight. I wouldn't be able to do that. Oh, no, I couldn't do it. Frank has been paraphrased as saying that the LSD experience was a controlled experiment for the purposes of mind control in San Francisco. What about Carnaby Street in England? The LSD experience was geographically 4,000 miles away. How could it be a CIA American experiment if the same thing happened in England?
Well, I'm sure I think I read somewhere where they did experiments in other countries with it. Mm-hmm. So, I guess they wanted to follow suit. Maybe they said, hey, can I borrow some of your LSD? Because I want to test it on somebody over here.
And they were trying to do it as a mind control experiment, and it accidentally turned into a mind freeing experiment that went the wrong way, right?
I guess, because I definitely don't want my mind to be that free. I'd like to have some control over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does stimulate the emotional part of the brain, so that's probably why women really don't take to it. Besides Grace Slick, maybe, and Janis Joplin or somebody like that. And not even her, because, there are a lot of casualties in the section of women. I think it messes with your hormones.
Oh, well, there's definitely more than enough reason not to use it.
Yeah. About religion and metaphysics. The Zappa family was raised as Catholic. Why did Frank dissociate himself from religion?
Can't you take a guess? Well, unless you've been there, the Catholic religion was, at that time, back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, was very controlled and very, I think there's probably some tenets of it that are still in usage, but one that always got me was blind acceptance. Mm-hmm. They told you something, and that was law. That was it. And I used to sit there and go, how can that be? I mean, they would say stuff like, it's the only true religion. Well, how can that be? I mean, who wrote that? Who judged that? Mm-hmm. I had a friend, a very good friend, who was a Baptist. And they said if you weren't Catholic, you wouldn't get into heaven. So you're telling me that my friend who's a Baptist is going to hell when she dies? That didn't make sense. Both Nolan and me, we couldn't understand the structure of that religion, because I think he grew up a Seventh-day Baptist. Seventh-day Baptist. And so, when somebody tells you this is it, you have to accept it. I went, you know what? When my father passed away, I walked away from it because I didn't know where my father went. Now, here's the scary part. There's 3 places to go: heaven, hell, or purgatory.
No, they had to add a third one, right?
Yeah, or limbo for babies that die before they're baptized. That's limbo. Okay? Oh, okay, so you're telling children this, scaring the poop out of them,
I know. Oh, yeah.
And, like I say, can't you guess why? I mean, none of my, Bob or Frank, I don't think either one of them wanted to go to it. But my mom, she was a devout Catholic, and I love her for her beliefs and everything, but I just can't get the precious blood of Jesus. I mean, right there. Doesn't that make you want to stop and say, I don't want to be covered in blood?
Yeah, I know.
You know, I don't want to eat his flesh.
Oh,
I'm not a
man. What is
fucking
this?
cannibal. You know? So, like, what did I do? I walked away from all that. And when I met Nolan, he had converted to Judaism in the 80s, because when he got married to his first wife, she was Jewish and he had to convert.
Mm-hmm.
I meet him. I love this man with all my heart. And, you know, about 2015, or ironically on Frank's birthday, I also converted to Judaism. Judaism, you know, what kind of a God would put you in eternal fire and damnation for eternity? I thought God was supposed to be a forgiving God and a loving God.
Right.
I mean, that's what I understood.
Yeah, it's promoting BMH, as Frank called bad mental health.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And so, yeah, that's why.
Would you say Frank was intentionally distancing himself from the original Zappa family because he became a pop star, or did it just happen?
Well, parents don't own children. They only bring them in to live their lives. It's very hard for a mom to let their kids go, and a dad. Okay? So when Frank, I mean, he had this, there was a lot of tension between him and my dad, you know. I mean, I'm sure they loved each other, but where my dad wanted to have him follow a certain path, Frank was going, you know what, I think it's going to be something else. So when he started with the Mothers and performing and stuff, they were proud of him, you know. Especially, I mean, he got to do a concert with Zubin Mehta. Come on, how many people can do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Yeah. That's, you know, my dad was very proud. One time, he was doing a concert. It was when Flo and Eddie were in the band. And I forget the auditorium where they were, but my mom didn't want to go. So I asked her if I could go in her place. And so Frank sent a limo out to get me and my dad. And we get inside and we're watching my dad was just beaming. He was so proud of Frank. And my mom was too, of course. And so there was this guy sitting next to my dad, and while they're up on stage, you know, he nudges my dad and he points to one of the musicians. He says, "That's my son." My dad looks at him and he points at Frank and he says, "That's my son." So, yeah.
Frank referred to himself as a true pagan.
I think so, yeah. Everybody has the right to express themselves however they want it, if they don't shove it down somebody else's throat.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Do you believe in astrology?
Oh, yeah.
Does it have any significance?
Well, I don't read my horoscope every day, if that's what you mean. I like to, when I meet somebody, usually I ask them what their birthday is and what year they were born, because there's Eastern astrology and there's Western astrology. So my husband was a year of the ox, or the buffalo, but he had his Mars was in Gemini, so he could talk. And he was a Taurus, and usually Tauruses are pretty stoic and quiet. Not Nolan. Nolan we could walk into a room where we didn't know anybody, and by the end of the evening, they all loved him. Oh. He could work the room like you wouldn't believe. So yeah,
charming.
So you've got a lot of charm, but you don't. I'm going to step on a limb and say you don't fall for the bullshit.
I certainly don't, or I wouldn't be talking to you, gal. I wouldn't even know who you are. I wouldn't even know who Frank Zappa is or anything. I think you're an Aries, right?
You bet. Triple.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Is the road to up down to get down with the negativity in order to achieve positivity?
Probably. Everybody does their own thing. Some people don't take the down at all. They don't do well with down.
Mm-hmm.
I've been down, and it's okay. It's okay to sit back and lick your wound and say, okay, now the next thing is to go up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to go down before you can go up. Staying on the up road is going to get you nowhere.
That's true.
You got to have the good with the bad.
There you go. There you go. And you got to get down with the yin and the yang, they also call it. So you got to, embrace the yin so you can get back to the yang and be a little bit aware that you might have some yin in your yang and some yang in your yin, right?
Yeah.
All right. Have you had any clairvoyant experiences or audiovoyant experiences?
Oh, yeah. Many times.
Oh, well, can you share one of those experiences?
Okay. In 1980, I had a dream one night that Frank was going to enter an apartment building in New York, and someone called out his name and shot him 5 times.
Oh.
I heard the bang, 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 bang.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next day I wake up and I called my mom. I said, have you heard from Frank? Is he okay? And so she called someone to find out what was going on. And Frank was just sick with the flu and he had to cancel his concert. Okay, fine. 3 days later, John Lennon was going to walk into the Dakota. That asswipe called out his name and shot him 5 times.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. Wow,
and so when I saw the picture of the Dakota in the newspaper, I almost had a heart attack because that's what I saw in my dream.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
So I asked a cousin of mine who's not with us anymore, but I asked him. I said, "What did I do? What was that?" He said, "It's called dream transference." So I was picking up something that was going to happen to somebody, but I didn't know who. And in my subconscious, I had to put it on somebody that I knew for it to manifest. Okay, that's what happened. And it just so happened they knew each other.
It's stories of the strange, but they're very real. It was kind of like a very large event in space-time, so, it probably, to people who are receptive, which you're probably one of those people who are receptive, and that's why you're tuning in on the event there. Is it true that you can communicate with dead people? If so, what method do you use to do so?
I basically just talk, like to Nolan, I talk to him, But I have some friends that can convey what is being said by them. Like, I have a friend of mine who lives in Canada. She told me, when I first met her in 2012, Nolan and I had flown out there to do a concert for, it was a fundraiser for prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what killed Frank. And so I met this woman, her name is Patty, and she didn't even know who Frank was. But she was in this place that one night before the show, and we were introduced to her, and we just became good friends. And when I came home, we were talking on the phone, and she started telling me that Frank was there, and he had things to tell me. And she repeated what he was saying, and stuff that only I knew. She didn't know who he was. She didn't know anything about him.
Wow.
So it was very evident that she was not, just bullshitting. And after Nolan passed over, while he was dying, he had liver cancer. Oh. So it was a long 3 months of taking care of him every day, and in hospice and what have you. I took care of him at home, and I would ask him something, and he would just grunt, and he wouldn't even talk. It was very heartbreaking to me. The night he passed, I could hear him yammering in my ear. And I said, "Oh, now you want to talk to me." So the next day, my friend Patty was messaging me, and she said, "Nolan said to tell you that it's wild over here."
Okay.
She said, and I didn't tell her. See, the Jewish tradition of burial is they wash the body, they pray over it, they dress the body in white like pajamas,
Mm-hmm.
and then in a shroud, and then they put him in a simple pine box. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell her any of this. She tells me he looks great in those white pajamas. I didn't tell her what he was buried in.
Oh, man.
Never mentioned it. She says he's rocking these white pajamas.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right.
She said and I would dream about him. So, yeah.
All right. Here's a two-part metaphysical question. A, after people die, do they go to a separate heaven for each person, or are we all, including animals, bugs, and pets, going to the same heaven, including George Washington, Abe Lincoln, and Albert Einstein?
I think that's a very good question. I bought a lot of her books. Sylvia Brown, she was a psychic that she passed away a few years back, but I read her books quite extensively, and from what I understand is when you cross over, it's like you hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, and everybody reverts back to 30 years old. Doesn't matter how old you are when you die, but you're 30 years old on the other side, which I'm looking forward to because I look pretty damn good when I was 30.
All right.
Yeah. So, and you can have anything you want over there. It doesn't matter. You smoke, you can drink booze, it doesn't matter because you're already dead. Anyway.
That's right. So, all right. Wouldn't it follow that some people won't be accepted into heaven, such as Stalin, Hitler, Genghis Khan, and certain recent American presidents? Doesn't that make heaven exclusionary?
That's another good question. I often wonder that myself, like mass murderers and pedophiles and people that just, deserve to be dissolved with acid while they're alive. I don't know. It's kind of like up to God, I think. When you cross over, I know you look at your life. You look at this. It's like a TV screen or something, and it's a monitor, and it shows you your whole life in front of you, and maybe there's some kind of penance or whatever that you have to go through to get to the good part. And because I asked that same friend, I said, did Nolan see his father? And she said no. And I said, well, God, I thought he would be the first one there to greet him, but it wasn't so. So I don't know exactly how to answer that, except that's a God deal.
Another word for God could be cosmo, because cosmos is like the universal name. B, humans have an electromagnetic nervous system energy, since according to Einstein, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Where does the energy of a human go?
Well, again, energy can't be destroyed. Sometimes when I'm sitting here in my room, I will see shadows out of the corner of my eye, and things move. So I know he's here. I know Nolan's here. When I first moved up here to Ventura, I could feel my arms like electrical shocks, but without the shock part, the painful part. And I knew he was touching me. Okay, so that's energy. I can feel him. When I looked at some pictures of me that were taken years ago, I literally could feel him up against my shoulder, looking over my shoulder at the pictures. I went out to karaoke and I was singing a song, and he was literally standing in front of me. His energy was so strong, I almost lost my balance.
Wow.
Because he was literally in my face going, yay, sing, So, yeah, energy doesn't go away. And your soul is, and don't be making deals with the devil, please.
You shouldn't do that while you're alive.
Yeah. There's been times.
I know, right? And you also could call it the plasma wave dude, like a plasma wave energy that we all share, probably, and we just go back to the plasma wave dude collective. Maybe when you go where you want to go, like where you think you're going to go, that's where you go. I think George Carlin said that, what he thought.
I think it's what you take with you. yeah, whatever's on your mind, when you're going, I think that's what you take with you.
There you go. There you go. What do you think about Frank's humble curse, which goes, I hereby place a curse upon the cretins who assert that Americanism equals Christianity equals good fiscal policy equals 15 minutes from Armageddon. But Armageddon is okay because we're all going to heaven and they're not. My humble curse, may your shit come to life and kiss you.
I think I've heard that a long time ago. That's great. You should come along and kiss you. That's going on my Facebook page, man.
Oh, yeah.
Just that right there. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's out of the real Frank Zappa book, the part where Jesus thinks you're a jerk.
Yeah. Well, so you want my opinion on that?
Yeah, if you have one.
I would say, yeah. I mean, like I say, everybody's got their own idea of things, and he was very strong in his ideas. I kind of have to stand back and go, okay. I don't disagree. I don't agree or disagree. I just kind of go, okay. That's what you want to think. That is your opinion, and I respect it. I respect anybody's opinion as long as it's not painful or hurtful to anybody else.
Right, and it would be preferably if it was an educated opinion, which, of course, in this case, most certainly.
Yeah.
And also, the real question, I think, would be, has the humble curse come true? Is it still going, or has it come true?
I could get there. I'd say it's coming close.
Hear, hear. Okay. What do you think about the possibility of belief systems being hijacked for political purposes, such as belief in the Caramba and Muzzlemania?
I'd say it's a very strong possibility. It's what it feels like to me.
Shouldn't we question compulsory beliefs and instead rely on empirical evidence? Who is saying this?
I mean, yeah, that's the idea. Don't take it lying down. I don't want to get into it because...
Well, I just wanted to bring that up because it just seems from observation that the Caramba is being used as a kind of as a religion. I mean, as a belief system, and people are accepting it as a religious belief. I mean, it's almost, check it out. They closed the churches, during lockdown. They closed the churches, and that's the first time that's ever happened. That's never happened before. And so to say the Caramba is bigger than Christ, I could get in trouble for saying that, but for a time there, it was true, right? Sadly.
It's disgusting. It is truly disgusting. And anybody that backs it, I guess, follows hand and foot.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a real sheep to be led around to believe that this stuff is, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
I won't do it.
Yeah, I know.
There's no mask around here. Where I go into the store, there used to be a sign out there saying wear a mask, and to comply I would, because I did walk into a Ralph's one time when it first started, and I forgot my mask. And somebody says, "Ma'am, you have to have a mask." Oh, I felt so bad. I said, "Let me run out and get it." And then it became such a pain in the ass, because you get out of your car and you don't think about wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And you go into the store, oh God, I go back and get a fucking mask. Okay, so this is like, or when it first started, I went to the store and they had people lined up outside the store on the parking lot. I said, are you fucking kidding me? I can't believe this. And I walked away yelling, welcome to communism, people. Hello.
Or fascism.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
It certainly isn't democracy.
Get used to it.
Yeah, it's not democracy, because we didn't vote for these muzzles, right? Now on to monster movies. Frank was a big fan of monster movies. What is your favorite monster movie and why?
Well, let's see. I think we gotta compartmentalized because there's, monsters come in all forms. There's like, I don't like gory massacre movies, like Detective Chainsaw Massacre, anything, or Saw, or those kind of movies that where you have to amputate parts of your body. I like movies like The Conjuring, Part 1 and 2. Sinister, that was a very disturbing movie.
The Omen, maybe?
The Omen, yes, The Omen's good. Oh, God, what was it? James Wan he's amazing. He can make the scariest movies. I mean, the kind where you can feel the hair on your neck standing up.
Oh, my goodness.
And so anything he makes is okay with me. I'm trying to think of the name of the damn movie. Yeah, anything in that genre that's more supernatural than blood and gore.
Do you like any of the old 50s sci-fi movies? Because I think Frank was a really big fan of those, so, like, particularly.
Yeah, I know he liked Eraserhead. That was one of his favorites. The what was it? The woman that was, she was huge. I can't think of the name of that.
50-foot woman?
Yeah, something like that. And then the behemoth. The rocks, the slow-moving rocks. If this rock doesn't go faster than 1 millimeter a second, we're all going to die.
Right.
That's right.
Bullets can't stop it. Rockets can't stop it. We may have to use nuclear force.
Yeah, he liked the funky, the worse, the badly made movie, the better he liked it.
Cheapness, folks. Cheapness.
Yeah,
right.
And he thought the name Larry Martin was very funny. Larry Martin. I don't know why, but he thought it was funny. He's laughing now, I can hear him.
Okay. In the movie Queen of Outer Space, they used the phrase bacino. I think it was Les Paul's wife, Mary Ford, who was the actress that said it. According to Frank, what is the real meaning of bacino?
Gosh, I have no idea.
Oh, no?
I'm sorry. Oh. I don't know.
Well, I did a little research, and I don't know if this is Frank's, where he got it from, but being Italian, the Italian way to say kiss me is besame. It's spelled the same as bacino, so it might be a little bit of a perverted take on the kiss me, because the women who said it, they're saying the opposite. They want you to get away, you're a man, get away from me is bacino, instead of kiss me. It's possible, right?
Yeah. Hey.
All right. Also appearing in the movie was Zsa Zsa Gabor. Who is your favorite Gabor sister, Zsa Zsa or Eva? The one from Green Acres.
I liked Eva. I thought she was cuter. She wasn't as hard looking as Zsa Zsa.
Yeah, she was a lot sweeter too of a person.
Well, yeah. She wasn't out there slapping cops.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know. And it's kind of a travesty because if I mention Green Acres to somebody out there in the public, they go, oh, yeah, Zsa Zsa was really cool in that.
Yeah,
Josie, what do you know, man? Jeez. Okay, here's some space questions. What about space junk? Do you think there's a danger about satellites that decay in their orbit and fall back to Earth and maybe land on somebody?
Hey, anything's possible. Gravity sucks.
I
can tell you that from personal experience. Oh, you don't want to know about that.
Oh, well.
I'm talking about parts of my anatomy that are affected by gravity.
Oh, okay. There's actually people who would like to hear that, too. Talking about black holes. If light cannot escape from the singularity in a black hole, doesn't that mean that light speed stops, therefore causing time to stop?
Where do you get these fucking questions from, man? You sit there and think this up at night?
Yeah, and it keeps me up, too. It keeps me awake.
Yeah, well, what? Okay, well, what makes you think I would know the answer to that?
It's just a general human question. If so, what happens when time stops?
Well, I'd say that the universe would end. Since, that's kind of like how we run. I mean, supposing, everything stopped right now. If the world stopped spinning, we'd all fall off.
And I'm sure that would disrupt a lot of the orbital relationships
It would,
among the planets and cause a lot of other
it
chaos,
would
right?
fuck up everybody's day.
Right. What is your personal view about the origin of the universe?
Hmm. Well, I don't want to upset anybody and not believe in Adam and Eve, but I think the Big Bang Theory is where it all came from. If God existed before time did, then he must have had a hand in putting it all together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it just started. Somebody had to push the button.
Do you think everything in the universe is made of one element, which is the big note, meaning that it's all some kind of harmonic vibration?
Well, like we're all connected. Yeah, I think so. I think as you hit one note, we'd all hear it. We're all connected. Whatever it is, with a silver thread or a note, or whatever, we're all connected.
Yes, I think so too. Is it possible return sample missions could bring back germs from space, like in the Blob movie with Steve McQueen?
Oh, I'm sure scientists would probably like that, or like an alien,
Uh-huh. That's another good example.
You know that scene where the thing comes out of John Hurt's stomach?
Mm-hmm. Classic.
Okay, they didn't. From what I understood was the cast was not notified of this, and when it happened, you heard somebody go, ugh, and that was like a real reaction, like they were like getting ready to, blow cookies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man, the stuff that happens on a Hollywood
Anything
studio.
anything to get a good reaction out of you.
What's your favorite Star Trek original series episode and why?
Oh gosh, I was never a Trekkie.
Oh.
I did enjoy Leonard Nimoy, though. I thought he was very handsome, and his ears were such a turn on.
Did you get to meet Leonard Nimoy and discuss any cosmic subjects?
No, unfortunately,
Oh.
I didn't. I've only met a few celebrities. Some of them, like I met Barry Manilow one time.
It must have been interesting.
Well, no, it wasn't. It was very boring.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, sarcastic.
Yeah. Picking up that sarcasm there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think warp drive will be developed for interstellar travel anytime soon?
It isn't already?
Well, they keep teasing about it, but do you think transporters are possible?
Well, it might be, and they just don't want to let us know. I mean, can you imagine getting from your house to Walmart in 2 seconds? Come on.
Without a fly in
That
there?
would be great. Yeah, you just put on your little helmet and your backpack and out the door.
Hopefully not with anything in there while you're transporting. Otherwise, you'll come back half as whatever was in there with you, like the fly, right?
That's the fly, yeah. There you go. Help me. Anything is possible. Anything. I mean, anything can be invented. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
They've come up with an electric car. They've come up with driverless cars.
Yeah, I know. They're just as stupid as the ones that have a driver, right?
Yes.
The machine's only as smart as its programmer, man. Don't they get that?
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You got it.
What about life on other planets such as extremophiles like tardigrades?
Well, I always remember Frank saying it's very pompous of mankind to think they are the only intelligent life forms in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that is a definite possibility. I believe that there are other life forms on other planets. And they do watch us.
The only problem with that is you have a time dilation problem. So even if they were watching us, depending on how far away they were, they'd have to be pretty nearby in order to see us in real time, because otherwise they'd be looking at the Earth the way it was, 60 million years ago or however far away they are. So They wouldn't
Well,
see
now
us.
you're going back to time travel.
Yeah, yeah,
So
time travel. Yep, and space
Harriet,
travel.
I'm going to go to Earth, and I'll be back in about 60 million years, so don't hold dinner for me, okay? I'm going down to take a look. So, yeah, there was one time Nolan and I, we were living in Echo Park, and it was kind of an overcast night. And you know how sometimes when they have the searchlights that, show you, come over here and buy our stuff?
Yeah.
And it'll, like, reflect in the, well, there was right above us, there was a light, many lights, as a matter of fact, in a formed pattern, just kind of hovering over us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going, and we kept looking around to see if there was a searchlight. No. It was some of our friends from far away that came down to take a look. Yeah, I do believe that.
There's the Phoenix Lights out here in Arizona, so that's the big famous one. And there are a lot of people that saw that, and they're just they're trying to tell you it's weather balloons, and I'm like, yeah, sure, weather balloons. it's like right out of MIB, man. Where they try to tell you it's swamp gas, and stare at the little light, the neuralizer, and phew.
Yeah.
What about parallel universes? Do you think they exist, and is there any evidence?
I think I would agree with that. It's there was a good Twilight Zone made with Martin Milner and Vera Miles, where the girl was seeing herself sitting in the waiting room of the bus station when she looked in the mirror in the bathroom. And she was talking about parallel universe. Yeah, I do think that's going on.
Yeah, I remember that episode. That was one of the more creepier ones too, because
yes, it was. Kind of makes you go, okay.
I think it was called Mirror Image, actually.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, they had the guy who thought she was crazy, and then he ended up chasing himself down the alleyway.
Yep. Yeah.
Here's a rhetorical question. If you had your very own time machine like Rod Taylor, where and when would you go, and what would you do?
Well, if I could take 2 trips, I'd go back to my childhood so I could see everybody. I'm the last person alive from the original Zappa family. So
I know.
It'd be nice to see everybody, and kind of experience that fun time I had, And the other place I'd go is back to when I first met Nolan, and if I knew what I knew then that I know now, I would have had him checked out for liver problems. He might still be with us, but from what I hear is it was his time, and his body just wasn't, it wasn't gonna stay around. So now I'm here, and I wrote a book about him, and I'm going to re-record his song that he made famous, that he wrote, called If I Could Only Be Sure.
Cool. That's good news. I appreciate that. All right. Moving on to politics. Yay! In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. Roger Waters from Pink Floyd did the Big Wall concert, and Gorbachev was at the helm of the crumbling Soviet Union. Do you think things have changed much?
God. Here's a person that you're talking to who doesn't watch or give a fuck about the news.
Well, neither do I, dear.
I do know that when the first time I went to Germany for the Zappanale, I was treated to a diatribe, a monologue from this very interesting man, German man. And like everybody around there was wearing jeans and had mohawks and piercings and tattoos, where some years before then, they weren't allowed to do that. And if you had Frank's music, you would be put in jail.
Oh my gosh. Just for having it, like, on you?
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's crazy. Not even playing it, just... Wow.
That's what I understood. If I understood his explanation, but after everything straightened out, he it opened up. I mean, they were so happy. They loved Frank because he gave the middle finger to anybody that says you can't do this.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's right.
So and he was all for freedom of speech. If you don't like what you're hearing, go away. Turn it off. Keep scrolling. You don't have to like it or dislike it. But somebody says, you know, well, like I said before, everybody's entitled to their opinion, just as long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
Exactly. Yep. I don't know if you know much about Roger Waters and the Pink Floyd, but he has been getting some heat about being anti-Semitic. Do you think that he is anti-Semitic, or is the mainstream media attempting to smear his reputation?
I don't know for a fact, but, you know, anything's possible there, too. I don't care for anti-Semitic talk because I'm being Jewish myself. And I don't care for it. But like I say, I mean, if that's how you feel, keep it to yourself. You don't have to hurt people with it.
Right. Well, in Roger's case, he's just trying to represent the Palestinians, the people, not the leaders. And he's talking about how the leaders are gangsters and they're bullying their own people into, you know, going according to what they believe in. And he's being seen as anti-Semitic, but it's not true. He is not anti-Semitic, I think, because he's just trying to represent the other side. That is, the Israelis, the government, is actually turning more into, you know, a fascist state. So he was just trying to draw attention to that. If Frank had become president in 1992, would he have defeated Bill Clinton and Bush? And if he did, how would his policies have differed from President Clinton?
Oh yeah, I think he would have. It would have been fun to have him as president. That would be great. I used to have to make an appointment to see him anyway, so that would just fit right in with it, you know. What would his policies would be quite the opposite of whatever Bush would be, you know, for whatever his platform was. I'm sure it'd be just the opposite, and because he was a liberal and libertarian, I think it was.
Yeah, I think he said he's not a Democrat or a Republican, so.
Right, he was a libertarian, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's all that's left after that.
Yeah, Nolan and I registered as American Independent, so that's where I am. Okay. So yeah, it would have been an interesting presidency. If he hadn't gotten sick, he might have lasted for 4 years.
Right. Seems that Frank was always trying to retrofit the negativity of society and turn it into something positive. What would Frank think about the conditions in America if he were here today?
So that's a question I don't know what Frank would do. I know he would have a lot to say about it. That's for damn sure. Yeah, he'd be going off. There'd be lots of opinions. Yeah.
Lots of jokes, because he would like to poke fun at the wrongs of society, and I don't think he would know where to start, man. Between the caramba and the stuff that's going on with the recent American president.
Trust me. Yeah. Trust me. He'd know where to start, and he'd know where to end, too.
The Zappa European tour after Frank played with John Lennon and Yoko Ono at the Fillmore in 1971 was fraught with disasters, such as the Montreux building burning down and then the Rainbow Theater when Frank was knocked off stage by some crazy person. Is it possible that the unseen bad people in power didn't like Frank playing with John Lennon?
I don't think it had anything to do with that. I know that there were people that didn't like Frank, and, you know, that's their problem.
Here's the thing. In the tour, he was playing a Beatles song. He was playing I Want to Hold Your Hand. And so it's possible that somebody was offended, especially because he was playing in England at the time.
Well, what Frank had said about that was that, I forget the guy's name, Nigel or something like that, some name, whatever. Anyway, according to what he heard, I think, the guy was jealous of Frank because he said Frank was making eyes at his girlfriend. Now, when you're on stage, you have Klieg lights or 500 waters or some shit, and they're just like beaming down on you. So when you look out in the audience, you see black. You don't see faces.
Mm-hmm.
So how could Frank be making eyes at somebody? Okay. The other story he told was he thought that the money he paid to hear the music, he wasn't getting his money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, you pick a story, and he just, went nuts. And they got him. I think he served a year in jail or something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it rearranged Frank's vocal abilities. He went to a baritone because his head was pushed over his neck and crushed his larynx.
Oh, I know. Yikes. That's terrible.
Yeah.
On the Broadway The Hard Way album, there was a featured song by Mr. Sting called Murder by Numbers. Do you think that certain celebrities have been targeted to be murdered, such as John Lennon, Carl Sagan, and perhaps Frank?
That's a good question. I don't know, and I wouldn't even venture a guess. That's kind of macabre. I'm going to sit here and talk about how I'm going to kill your ass,
Uh-huh.
and put it in a song so it's much more attractive.
Oh, God. I know. Right. Well, like it says in Sting's song, there really isn't any need for bloodshed. You just do it with a little more finesse. If you can slip a tablet into someone's coffee, then it avoids an awful lot of mess.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just weird because, Frank went over to Washington, D.C., and I'm sure that at some point they served him some coffee, and we don't know if there's something was, put in there or so. It's things to contemplate. What do you think about Putin, his relationship with ex-President Dump, the sudden fashion muzzles, ex-muzzles, and now the new designer war in the Ukraine?
I think it's an unfortunate state of affairs. It's not something you want to have happen on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to think of Putin. I don't know what to think of anything, because why did it happen? I mean, what possessed him to, all of a sudden say, hey, I'm going to destroy your country, so, get ready. And bang, there it was.
Oh. It just seems that it's something we're supposed to focus on, bye-bye Caramba and hello war, hello high gas prices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It just reeks of filthy manipulation. Okay, let us lighten things up a bit. A couple of food questions. What is your favorite dish when you dine out? Or do you prefer a home-cooked meal?
I like cooking at home, and because I know what I want. But you go out, it's like a crapshoot when you go out, because you never know, who's back there picking their nose and wiping their hands on the apron. But it depends on where you go. If you go to there's a restaurant out here called Lure. It's an incredible fish restaurant, seafood.
Mm-hmm. I think I've heard of that.
I tried halibut for the very first time, I think.
No,
swordfish. No, it was swordfish. Oh my God. It was such a thick fish. It was very meaty, and I couldn't finish it because it was just too much. But they have excellent food in there. If you get a good place that's clean and has good food in it. I don't normally order stuff that I would cook at home. Like, I don't order fried chicken. I don't order spaghetti, because I make my spaghettis better than theirs.
I bet.
And I won't eat oysters unless they're cooked. just not into swallowing raw oysters.
Thing, yeah, I know. A lot of people aren't. Yeah. Some people are, but
like, hey. Anyway, but fish. I like fish. I like a good steak. So for all you vegans out there that hate that, I'm sorry.
Well, fish, that's pretty close to vegan. Do you make your own recipes?
Yeah, I kind of season the way I like things. And I like my meat medium rare. I don't like it cooked all the way. That just takes the beauty of the meat away. You got to have some pink in there.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter likes where you pass a match on each side of it and it goes moo when you put it in a pan, you know. But just good food, good, and lots of vegetables. My mom got us all taught, you know, to eat vegetables. She would serve like 3 or 4 kinds at every meal, you know, dinner meal, and with the main course. But
Oh, yeah.
she was a really good cook. Yeah, you just love. I don't care for okra though.
Oh, yeah, I don't like okra either. I don't like okra, asparagus. I tried to love asparagus, but this consistency is just, I don't know, gelatinously inside, and it just doesn't sit well with me,
Oh,
basically.
the okra, yeah, but asparagus is great. I will eat pounds of that stuff. But
Oh,
then your pee smells so bad.
right. And then when you get to cheese land, some of that stuff smells like feet.
I, I asked my mom that one time. I said, "Mom, how come cheese smells like feet? Did they slice people's feet, you know, and then put it in a?" And she hit me over the head with a fork or something. I forget.
Oh my gosh. Oh, do you do any gardening? If so, what kind of stuff
No,
do you like to grow?
no,
No, okay.
no,
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 no, no gardening. Well,
not a digger.
yeah. Okay. The closest I ever came to gardening was I once grew some green onions. Just took the bulb part and just stuck it into some soil. And what happened was when they grew, they started to strangle each other.
Ooh,
It was
yikes.
crazy. I was like, okay, so this is how green onions grow, I think. But, you know, they're competing by strangling each other.
Oh yeah.
It's weird.
Mhm.
Okay.
But the
I
thing is, they're both the same kind. So who wins?
exactly. Well, you know, the stronger versus the weak, only the strong survive, right? Okay.
Mhm.
I'd like to ask you about Nolan Porter.
Okay.
When did you meet Nolan Porter and how did he become the love of your life?
I met Nolan in 1999 through a mutual friend, Mary Linville. I was at a place called Leon Steakhouse, which is now a CVS. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
In North Hollywood, and I was asked to judge a karaoke contest. It's like, you know, okay, you want me to judge a karaoke? Okay, fine. So this woman comes up to me, beautiful face, smile. We just clicked, and just instantaneous. And she started telling me about Nolan. You have to meet this guy. He's got a great voice, and da 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 da. I said, cool. And so she would go back and tell Nolan about me, and that I sang, and blah blah blah.
Oh.
Okay, so things didn't happen fast enough. So one night she calls me up. She says, "Why don't you meet me at Leon's?" And she didn't tell me that Nolan was going to be there, and she didn't tell Nolan I was going to be there.
Mm.
Well, this was the day after his 50th birthday. So I walked in to, you're going to sit with your girlfriend, and you're going to have girl talk, you know.
Right.
Well, I see him sitting at the table, and I'm going, what's he doing here? And he looks over at me with this smile that says, okay, we're already set. You're mine. So I sat down, and I sat down at the table. We started talking, and we were going to get up and do a song together. So the very first song we ever sang together was "Too Much, Too Little, Too Late" by Johnny Mathis and Denise Williams.
Oh.
And we're like looking at each other, going, "Wow, this sounds pretty good," because I was harmonizing, doing the harmony with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that same show I told you about with Stollers and Lieber, Denise Williams was at this show, and we went up to her and introduced ourselves and told her we really loved her voice and everything. And then I mentioned that the very first song that Nolan and I sang together was that song that she did with Johnny Mathis. And, oh, really? So that was kind of our first thing. And then, we would get together eventually. And that was in May. So at the end of May, it was like, I guess what's the Memorial Day?
Mm-hmm.
In May? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
So we went up came up here to Ventura because we lived in the Valley, or as I call it, Hellville. We came up to Ventura, and he met both my daughters, and they liked him. And then we came home, and he was sitting on the edge of the bed because I was laying down because my back was killing me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he told me he didn't want to get into a relationship. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about?
Okay.
I said, he says, well, we can do music together. I said, okay, you want to do music together. Okay, well, I have a feeling you're not going to like me a lot because I'm a whole different person when I'm just doing music.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he left. And then January, we eventually, got back into the boyfriend-girlfriend kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the year, which was New Year's Eve, I had some physical issues going on, and I needed, according to my doctor, a hysterectomy.
Oh, gosh.
So he took me to the hospital. We made arrangements, and while I was in the room getting ready for the operation, they gave me the happy shot.
Mm-hmm.
And you start feeling really good, and things are going nice. And I just looked over at him and I said, you know what? I'd really like to be married to you. And his eyes, you look like the horse caught in the headlights,
Yeah, I can imagine.
And he says, well, I don't think I'd make a very good husband, but I make a better boyfriend. I said, you suck as a boyfriend. You'd make a better husband.
Oh my gosh.
So it took me 7 years to bag him, and
wow.
We finally got married in 2007, and then he passed away in 2021.
Yeah. What were your feelings the moment you first heard Nolan's albums, No Apologies and Nolan, his music?
Yeah, I liked his music. I liked what he did. He was just very different from anything you would have heard at that time. And like I say, I'm getting ready to re-record If I Could Only Be Sure.
Yeah.
I'm doing it my way.
Fantastic.
My way.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
On your album, To Be Perfectly Frank, who wrote the original songs?
Oh, there's 2 songs on there that I did write. One was Amazed, and the other one was Could He Be the Lovin' Kind? So those are both on there, and those are the only 2 I wrote. The rest of them were Nolan's contributions. I'm not sure if there was anything from Frank on there. I can't remember.
Yeah, you did some stuff from Frank on there as well. I think it was the live recordings that were on.
Oh, is that Directly From My Heart to You?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Who were the musicians, and did you get a chance to play any of the instruments?
No, I don't play anything anymore. I just sang.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nolan, when Nolan would do stuff, like he used to perform on cruise ships, and be the music, and he would play keyboards or piano or whatever. Yeah. So he was the musical part, and he sang, and his voice was great. And we were always amazed at how well our voices blended.
Yeah, well, you sound terrific. Sometimes I can't even tell who's singing if you listen to that album. And you have a really great voice. I mean, you can just really belt it out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And those songs you mentioned, I found them to be the best songs on the album. And I'm not buttering you up. That's how it hit me when I heard the album.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. When you listen to music these days, what are some of your musical preferences?
I like jazz. I like Jackie Gleason's, his orchestra stuff. The old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too much into the new stuff. I should be, but it just doesn't do anything for me.
That's a good thing.
I kind of hang with the old school stuff.
That's a good thing. Ultimately, even if you listen to some of the new stuff, you would end up listening to the old stuff because all they're doing is regurgitating and in some cases just totally ripping off things that were already there. So you're not missing much. Are there any new projects in the works for the future? You mentioned that book you're working on about Nolan.
It's already out. It's called If I Can Only Be Sure,
Okay.
The Life of Nolan Porter, and it's available on my and my publisher's website, crossfirepublications.com.
Okay, cool.
along with My Brother Was a Mother, Take 4, the latest version of it. That just came out in December of last year, and in fact, both of them came out about the same time, end of last year.
All right. Glad to hear that you're keeping busy and still coming out with stuff. And you also said you're working on that song that isn't out yet, right?
Right. Not yet.
Oh.
I will be. I'll send you a copy.
Oh, hey, that would be really very sweet of you. I appreciate that. Well, Patrice, this has been one heck of an interview. Really, it's been a treat and adventure, and I appreciate you giving your candid views on this myriad of subjects. You're a very interesting personality. You have had so many great stories to share, and I wish we could just talk for an eternity, but unfortunately, got to get doing some other stuff eventually, right?
Yeah, got to cut my toenails and file them down.
Hey, that's important stuff, man.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially for a diabetic. You got to keep your feet in shape.
Oh, yeah. I would say that for diabetics and non-diabetics. That was one of the good things about the Caramba, was it made everybody a little more hygienic, the ones that needed it,
Yeah. I remember when it first started, Nolan would don his gloves and mask and go out, brave the Caramba, and go to the stores and buy, he'd come back with boxes and bags of food.
Toilet paper. Toilet paper, remember?
No toilet paper. No, there was none around.
Right. Does anyone remember the toilet paper? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I go, Nolan, where am I going to put this food? I had no room. It was a small one-bedroom apartment. Uh-huh. And all my shelves and refrigerators were full, So I had to keep, the dry goods in the box under the table. So I just remember him. He was so cute, and he was just a good provider and a good man.
I know. Well, you sound like a very strong woman, and I think that you can get through anything, if you just put your mind to it. Keep busy. That's one of the big tricks about it. Is keep busy and keep doing stuff and do what you want to do,
Mhm.
We should promote what Frank said. It's, like I said, mainstreamly. Oh, man, I walked into, I don't remember where it was, a Best Buy or something, and I looked around in the music section, and I couldn't find Frank Zappa at all in there. Like, they completely got rid of the whole section, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, they're subduing Frank Zappa, and it's, like, really freaking obvious. Anybody who can promote what he said, his music, all that stuff is important. It's like almost like a civic duty.
I know.
So I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've had a good time. I have done many interviews. It all started, like 20 years ago. And when Nolan went to England, Wales, for him to perform with a bunch of other acts, and I told him, I said, start practicing your autograph, because you will be signing things in mass quantity. He didn't believe me. So we're sitting at the diner on the compound there, eating all bangers and mash, and people just queued up so politely. Hello, Mr. Porter, would you sign my program, please? Yes, he did. And he kept signing, and I kept eating, and he didn't get to eat. But I smiled at him graciously while he was signing everything. I'm surprised people didn't come up and say, would you sign my bum, please? But they didn't.
Oh, my gosh. I know, it gets crazy when they want you to sign other things besides pieces of paper and photos.
I had at one time in the Zappanale, I was coming out of the tent because I had a wee, okay?
Yeah.
It's a bodily function, every once in a while you got to do it, right?
I take a pee, yep.
The guy jumps in front of me, demanding an autograph. I said, can I get it when I come back? I have to go to the bathroom. And he doesn't speak that well English, okay? He's German. Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't let me go by without signing this, whatever he had, I almost wet myself.
Oh my gosh. Because right? Oh man, you don't speak the language, right? That's crazy.
Well, thank you, my darling. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
I'm going to let you go now, and I hope you have a zapperific evening.
You too, my dear.
Okay.
Take it easy.
Thank you.
All right.
You too.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.